This site, when we first came here, consisted of very large heaps of human remains, clothes, skulls, bones, and a half-built memorial site.
It was only 7 years after the genocide that the burial site was being formed here on the hillside in Kigali. The Aegis Trust was born out of the whole experience of the Holocaust Centre in the UK. So we were familiar with the importance of memorials and memory.
Our objectives when we developed the concept was to create a place to remember our beloved relatives, to pay tribute, and a place where people will understand the impact of what's happened to never repeat it in the future.
Je suis allé rendre visite à Nottingham, j'ai vu Beth Shalom Museum et je me suis dit pourquoi ne pas faire un contrat avec eux. À ce moment, je n'avais aucun sou, mais je me disais que je vais trouver l'argent. Et puis dans le mémorandum, nous avons mis qu'ensemble, Aegis Trust et la ville de Kigali, nous allons mobiliser l'argent ensemble.
We constructed this place that you see in slightly less than 3 months. We had a very tight deadline. We had no funds available when we started the project. So not only did we have a very scientific challenge, but we also had a challenge from a logistical aspect. And the whole team was exhausted because we had spent a couple of sleepless nights towards the end of the event. But as soon as I got in, it was like a booster. You could actually feel it and see in people's face that you actually contributed to something.
This museum is neither permanent nor static. It's a dynamic conversation between this community and that building. And what will happen is, I would hope, when we come back after 15 years after the genocide, 20 years after the genocide, if you find the same museum there, I shall be very disappointed.
I can tell without any doubt what happened later on was beyond our expectations. Today, every visitor wants to come to visit, and I'm happy to have participated with many other people to have created a landmark in Kigali and even for Rwanda.
What is quite unique about the Kigali Genocide Memorial is that it's not only about remembering the past, but it's very intentionally developing programs to help bring people together in that second generation to overcome divisions and mistrust in communities. And as such, it's becoming a tool for the prevention of violence and atrocities and helping to create resilience against genocide.
10 years ago when we opened it, we really didn't know what the future of this place would be. And so to come back here today and to see the vibrancy of this institution here, and it's achieving those aims of commemoration and dignity and education and reaching out to the wider world and giving that very powerful message of prevention in the face of our failure in the past is a very powerful thing indeed.
Right after the creation of this memorial in 2004, it became one of the most visited sites in the region. Children were asking questions about what happened during genocide, how can you overcome it? The answer we gave to these questions is to create a special program for them. The peace building education that started in 2009. To establish this program was not an easy job to do. The first question was, what kind of message should we give those children who have different backgrounds? Children who came from the side of perpetrators or children who has background as survivors. Getting a common message was a big challenge.
The Peace Education Programme is focusing on how we might think differently in times of a division and crisis.
What kind of lessons do we use to help students develop the skill of critical thinking? You can't tell someone to be a critical thinker and it'll happen. You can't tell somebody to have empathy and it will happen. It has to come from within. They have to have experiences that help them develop those skills. And that's our goal with the teacher program and also with the student workshops.
This is not lessons that is taught in schools. It's not a discussion that is happening in families. And when it's happening, it's not actually in the form of building the person to be really resilient for the future. So the only information they're getting from the memorial during the workshops.
Byaragihinduye muri ubu buryo kuko numvaga ko abahutu abatutsi badakwiye kubana nabo kubera ibintu bakoze turi kumwe tukishyira hamwe tukavanga ibintu ntago ari byo abahutu ntibari bakwiye natwe twagakwiye kubishyura ariko kubera ibintu abandi baje baratuganiriza dusanga ahubwo dukwiye kujya hamwe tugasenyera umugozi umwe none tukubaka igihugu.
We have a good news. We have a message to the world. The peace education that started here at Kigali Genocide Memorial, it has been expanded to the communities.
This outreach program is the extension of on-site program to reach more people. It's not only for students, though it is mainly focusing on them, but also community in general. So when we are together, we base on the exhibition, hearing the stories from people who have gone through, helps participants to understand more what happened in the history of Rwanda.
Mwungukiyemo ibintu byinshi cyane urebye namenye amateka y'u Rwanda mbere y'ubukoloni.
Isomo nakuyemo nuko nabonye ko nzajya mbana neza n'abandi bana kandi nkajya nkomeza gukwirakwiza urukundo.
They say now we can understand that we are all one. Then we ask them, what do you think is your role to change this ideology? They say that we will teach our children that they are Rwandans, they are not Hutu, they are not Tutsi, they are not Twa. So after the workshop, they are committed to do change in society and to be an agent of change. So if it gives opportunity to create peace or to promote peace in society, I'm very sure Rwanda will export this program to other countries.
Muri Genocide Archive Rwanda turi abakozi barenga 20 bari mu matimu atandukanye. Tukaba dufite timu ya mbere ishinzwe kujya kuri terrain no gukusanya ayo makuru akubiyemo ubuhamya bunyuranye bw'abacitse ku icumu cyangwa se abagize uruhare mu bwicanyi. Iyo timu niyo ituzanira ayo makuru ikayashyikiriza indi timu ishinzwe kuyanoza kugira ngo abashe kuzajya ku rubuga rwacu ndetse no kugira ngo azabe accessible ku bantu bose bayifuza.
Akazi kanjye ko kwakira ubuhamya cyane cyane ngafata nk'ibice bibiri. Igice cya mbere ni igice kitanyorohera nk'umuntu wacitse ku icumu, nanone nkaba nakira ubuhamya bw'abantu batandukanye. Ni ukuvuga ngo niba wumvise ubuhamya uno munsi ukumva ko bugukomereye ubwakira, ejo wumva ubw'undi muntu kandi ubwo buhamya bwose niko bukuguma. Uburyo bwa kabiri nanone ni mu rwego rwo gukusanya ubwo buhamya mu kwigisha, mu gufasha abashakashatsi kurwanya ikintu cyose cyakongera gutera jenoside aho ivuka agera. Muri urwo rwego rero nk'akazi nkora nkaba ari nako kantera imbaraga zo gukomeza kwakira ubwo buhamya.
I think having an archive like this on the genocide not only helps in preserving the memory of genocide, but all the documents we collect in the archive can be used as educational tool, and it also facilitates researchers not only here but internationally.
I think it's a tremendous resource. First-hand testimony, primary source materials, it puts it online, it presents it in a way that is very user-friendly and is also useful for people who are doing advanced research. For me, I've benefited greatly from some of the testimonies that have been gathered. I think that it's done in a sensitive and respectful way, and that's extremely important when documenting genocide.
Tukaba turi gukora kuri projet ijyanye no gushyira inzibutso 20 hamwe no kuzidocumenta, no kuvuga iyo projet ikaba yitwa interactive map.
I think it's useful in a number of ways. Some of these sites are very remote, and difficult to get to. So both for people within Rwanda and outside of Rwanda, this gives people an opportunity to experience genocide memorial sites in a little more depth. There's really no limit to how it can be expanded. So as these memorial sites are developed, this site can develop along with it.
Ni ingenzi cyane kugira ngo abantu bamenye ibyabaye byo kuzasubira ukundi kandi no kubika aya mateka utazi iyo yavuye ntamenya n'iyajya. Aya mateka niyo atuma ubu buhamya nibwo butuma n'abandi bantu bazirinda gukora ibyabaye.
Considering the importance of this place and the amount of people visiting, the Aegis Trust, together with other partners, came to realize that there was a need of increasing the size in terms of education facilities. We planned on doing a first phase, construction of 4 classrooms and an amphitheater that will help us fundraise to reach to the second phase. The second phase will be the completion of the Center of Humanity.
The vision for the next 10 years at the Kigali Genocide Memorial is that the projects that have been taking place here, the documentation, the research, the impact on policy and education, will be run through the Global Centre for Humanity based here at the Kigali Genocide Memorial. These programs are significant not only here in Rwanda at helping to develop social cohesion and greater resilience against atrocities at a community level, but the expertise that is being built up here can be applied elsewhere in countries where there is a higher risk of atrocities taking place.
We have this program that is really innovative way of teaching about peace and about promoting memory of genocide. We think that this is a positive message to give to the world from Rwanda.
Ku rwibutso rero rwa Gisozi umuntu yashima ko ruhari, umuntu akanashimira n'abantu bahakora, cyane cyane ko nko ku Banyarwanda gusubira mu mateka guhera kera kugeza ubu ngubu bigatuma umuntu utayazi neza.
Nuko ruha Abanyarwanda guhora bazirikana ibyabaye, kandi buriya kuzirikana ibyabaye nibyo bituma abantu batera intambwe bagana imbere. Ntabwo rero twashobora kugana imbere tutabanje kuzirikana ibyabaye, hanyuma no gufasha n'ahandi hose ibyo ngibyo byaba bigiye kubafasha kugira ngo nabo ibyatugwiririye nabo bitashobora kuba byabagwiriye.
For those who are victims, we thank you for your courage. We thank you for your love, because your love is what transcends from here. One doesn't come here and walk away with anger or bitterness, but what we take away is the love of the Rwandan people that has enabled them to rebuild their society.
Nobody who comes to this memorial site is ever the same when they leave. The international community is determined to stand with the Rwandan people in the same way that our guides today were themselves 13-year-old boys at the time of the genocide. Sorry. And they tell their stories so that diplomats like me, journalists, citizens, churchgoers, everyone in the world can know what happened here so that it never happens again in Rwanda and it never happens anywhere else in the world.
I think it faithfully, honestly, painfully presents the truth of the Rwandan genocide. It is a profoundly important contribution to the ability of this country to go on with its life and the people to come together. And it's an important contribution to the recent history of the world that no one can afford to forget, so that the mistake is not repeated again. We are all in debt to everyone who had anything to do with the creation of this magnificent museum. And I urge those of you who can to see it and to support it.